All right, thanks for checking in on Husker Storm blog. This is going to be my reaction to the national championship, and so let's go ahead and get started. So Alabama, I think it's safe to call it a slaughtering of LSU. Um, this didn't look like the typical LSU's team that you've seen all year. They failed to get any sort of momentum, no turnovers, no big plays on special teams, and Alabama looked like the better team on that day, on yesterday in the national championship. They looked like the better team, and A.J. McCarron played well. They set him up with some easy passes to start off with. He hit at least 3 passes that were tough passes, and he played pretty sharp, and their defense got the shutout. But LSU they failed to show up. It was really disappointing. I mean, I picked Alabama to win the game. I picked them to start off fast, LSU to start off slow. I expected a little bit more from the LSU offense. They should have pulled Jordan Jefferson and gave Jarrett Lee a chance. Jordan Jefferson wasn't going to do anything, and that offensive line was terrible. Their offensive game plan going in, I don't know what it was. I don't know if they wanted to run the option a lot or what they wanted to do. They were confused, and when they ran the option, they ran it about 4 times, and twice, I think they picked up maybe a yard, and it's because Jordan Jefferson would not attack the linebacker. He would pitch it with about 2 yards away from the linebacker, so the linebacker still has a chance to get the pitch man. You can't do that, and he's not very good at running the option, that's for sure. And Alabama did a much better job scheming it and executing their game plan for stopping it. And then there's another 2 times where he fumbled the snap, where I believe he was going to run the option. He was trying to get out there quickly, but he wasn't very good at running it. He wasn't quick. He wasn't decisive, and it showed. And he wasn't decisive. He looked terrible. He looked awful. That wasn't the typical, Jordan Jefferson, who looks, he's not a great quarterback, but he's good enough to win games at LSU. And so now Alabama is the national champion. They get to hold the crystal despite going 1-1 against LSU, despite losing 1 more game, despite only beating 3 ranked teams. I don't know what to say. I mean, this system was much better than the old bowl system. The BCS is a lot better now that you have a national championship and you're playing 1 versus number 2. And back then, when you couldn't see number 1 versus number 2, and there was a lot of controversy in who won the national championship. There were split national championships. Now you don't have that, but not everybody's getting the chance to play for the national championship. We've seen TCU and Boise State left out, and for fair reasons, but still, they went undefeated just like the other teams, and they took care of business. But Oklahoma State got left out because of their loss. I can tell you one thing's for sure. That SEC schedule that Alabama played sucked. It was lame. The best team they played was Arkansas. They didn't play Georgia. They didn't play South Carolina. They played Florida. Oklahoma State beat more ranked teams. Now, if you look at it, I believe it was 5 ranked teams that were ranked at the time that they played them. In the final polls, Oklahoma State beat 5 teams that were ranked. Alabama beat 3 teams that were ranked. That's including their bowl win. And teams that went to bowl games, Oklahoma State beat 9, Alabama beat 7. Oklahoma State went 6-3. Alabama's opponents. This is Oklahoma State's opponent's bowl record was 6-3. Alabama's was 4-2. So I mean, that stuff's really close. Oklahoma State's got the worst loss, and that's why they didn't play for it. But I can't say Alabama was the best team. Were they the best team last night? Heck yes. Last night they looked like they were the best team, But with LSU's resume, I can't say Alabama was better. Alabama, yeah, they beat them 21-0 one time, and if you want to say outplayed them at home, Alabama did, but they lost. A loss is a loss, and they got their second chance. And of course, always, whenever this happens, whenever a team gets a second chance, they win. I think it's like 14-6 in bowl games. The team that lost the first game, and I don't think it's fair at all. But you can't. Alabama wins the national. Here's the great thing: Alabama's going to have a banner on their wall, 2011 national champions. But on next to that banner is not going to be SEC conference champions. Nope, not going to be SEC East Division conference championship. SEC West conference. Division champions. So they're not going to have any championships from their SEC, but they will be the nation's best team. Okay. This has got to change. I think Alabama, in order to get that national title game, should have had to beat Oklahoma State. Or if you want to do this whole thing, you add the +1. Alabama played Oklahoma State. LSU played Stanford. We'd probably end up with Alabama, LSU. But then we know we'd had the two best teams in the country playing in the game. Do I believe Alabama and LSU were the two best teams? Yes. But I don't know for sure. Oklahoma State might be able to beat Alabama. They might be able to beat LSU. But, college football's always had this unfair system. And sounds like they're thinking about changing it. I'm hoping they go to at least a +1. I don't want to see an 18 playoff. If you don't win your conference champion, if you're not the conference champion, I don't know if you deserve to play in it, but Alabama, I think they deserve to play in the +1. They lost to the best team in the country at the end of the season. They beat them again, so they went 1-1 versus them. There should be a best of 3. But they won the game that mattered the most. Therefore, they get the crystal. But it was pretty obvious who was the better coach. Nick Saban completely stifled Les Miles. Les Miles, I don't even know it. Most coaches, if they're an offensive guru or a defensive guru. Nick Saban's a defensive guru. I don't know what Les Miles is. I know he does a great job with his players, keeps them positive, and he gets lucky a lot. But he just got schooled. He got straight up schooled. Alabama's not that much better than LSU. I would argue that they're not better at all than LSU. I would argue that LSU's better than Alabama. But LSU beats Rose Bowl champions, Orange Bowl champions, Cotton Bowl champions. 8 ranked teams. They lose one game to a team they already beat, and they get second place. That's typically how this system has worked. It's been pretty crappy. I like the idea of a +1. I wouldn't have even minded this year if we had, Oklahoma State played Stanford and they had the just bowl games. LSU was undefeated, so they were automatically in the national championship. And then you had Alabama played, probably Michigan in the Sugar Bowl or something like that. Alabama would probably win. Oklahoma State already did win. And then from there, or you have, Alabama play, I don't know. +1's the best thing. That's the best thing that's going to work out. This year ended disappointing. It was very disappointing. I'm not an LSU fan, as you can see by the blog, but my heart wanted LSU to win. My gut said LSU was going to win, but my head, I knew Alabama was going to win. They're the better coach team. Let's face it. Nick Saban's a good coach. I want to see Nick Saban win somewhere else, though. He's winning in the most fertile recruiting grounds. I mean, there's recruits thrown left and right that are 5 stars all throughout Alabama, Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, the Carolinas. You know, he's got all that. I want to go see him. Go and try to win at Iowa. All right, we already saw what you did in the NFL. You looked pathetic. Go and try and win at Nebraska. There's a lot. Recruiting's tough there. Go and try and win at Boise State. All right, I think Nick Saban's a great coach. He does a good job scheming defensively, but he's not Chris Petersen. I'm sorry. Chris Petersen is probably the best coach in the country. Now, am I a Boise State fan? Do I think Boise State deserved to play in the national championships the other year or BCS Bowl? No, I don't. But Chris Petersen's a great coach. Chip Kelly, he's better than Nick Saban. I can tell you that. There's like 3 coaches that I can name that are better than Nick Saban. If Nick Saban's on the top of somebody's list, then they got issues. I think Chip Kelly's better. Chris Petersen's better, and let's see, who else would be better? Nick Saban might be right there at 3rd. But I think Chip Kelly and Chris Petersen are better at what they do in not fertile recruiting grounds. Oregon and Boise and Idaho do not produce great recruits. They got to go recruit in California. Boise, they develop their players. Does Nick Saban develop his players? No, I don't think so. He brings in 4 stars and 5 stars that are the best in the country that could go play in the NFL if they wanted to right now. Does he run a very complicated defense that is very good and very well executed? Yes. Does he run a very disciplined and well-coached program? Yes. I just don't think he develops his players like Chip Kelly and Chris Petersen do. Now, I don't know what I got on this rant for, but whatever. Alabama won the national championship game fair and square. Now are they national champions? That's the question. They went 1-1 against the team that I thought was the best team in the country. One of the best teams in BCS history, maybe the history of college football. But let's face it, LSU's not that great offensively. It was a good performance by Alabama defensively, but it's not like they stifled Oklahoma State. It's not like they stifled Oregon. They faced a team that averaged 375 yards of offense a game. That most of their points were set up by their defense and their special teams. Yes, it was an impressive performance from Alabama, but LSU's offense was more anemic than how great Alabama's defense was. But there was guys open. Oklahoma State would have hit those guys. Oklahoma State would have scored. They would have went past the 50-yard line. Do I think they would have won? No, I'd take Alabama. Since Alabama can't freaking score touchdowns, I'd probably say 23-21 or something like that in a good game. Now I think Oklahoma State can beat LSU. LSU's shown vulnerable against the pass. They were vulnerable against West Virginia, similar offense to Oklahoma State. But they find ways to win, and they find ways to win big. And last night they didn't in the national championship when it counted the most, and therefore Alabama's going to get the 2011 crown, the Crystal. They're going to be declared champions, national champions. Not SEC champions, not SEC West champions, national champions. But there's my little rant. SEC wins 6 straight. We'll see if somebody can dethrone them next year. We'll talk about each year in review in each conference, and look forward to next year, probably after signing day and after we know, who's going to the NFL. And check back, definitely. And thanks for listening.